Hey everybody, welcome to a very special spoiler mode. I'm here with Daniel Bloodworth, Michael Damiani, and Bradley Ellis, and we're talking about Street Fighter the movie. And I had not seen this movie since I was a kid, and it was a trip revisiting it. It is there's so many bizarre things to talk about.
Spoiler mode, final warning, spoiler mode activated.
I guess to start off the conversation, what was your gut reaction to either watching this film for the first time or rewatching it?
I think I was with you where, I hadn't seen this movie probably since it came out. I don't know if I saw it in theaters or as a rental or what it was, but it's like, I remember it being not good, but I didn't have any other context really in my head for like what they were doing other than that, the famous group shot that closes it out. But yeah, it's just all over the place, the decisions that were made in here. We'll get into it for sure. I want to see what everyone else.
I mean, it's a terrible movie, just like I remember pretty much. But I had fun watching it again.
I love rewatching this movie. This and Super Mario Brothers the movie, I realize like they're not great movies, but they provide so much entertainment, so much fun to watch. Yep. Especially showing like new people have never seen it. It's one of the funnest things to do. But just like the Mario movie with Street Fighter the movie, when I originally saw it, I was just like, it wasn't like the game enough like the game. Or in some parts, well, like because as a kid, it's like some don't look right or they look sort of right. So like Mario was way worse in this regard.
No. But, just to echo your point, Damiani, like it's not like the game at all. Like I'm just agreeing with you completely.
No, okay, yeah. It's like I was just in disbelief as a kid because I'm like, this is weird, and live action was kind of weird too. Yeah. But over the years, I like definitely appreciate this movie. I'm with all of you that it's not like a great or even a very good movie. But man, I rewatched it yesterday again, and I was like, you know what? Each time I watch it, I appreciate it a little bit more. I actually like this film.
I'd say the one, if there's any part of this that actually seems like it tries to get the game right, it's the scene with Vega. He's in that cage battling. He's got his claw. He's got his mask.
Yeah, the roses,
the braids, like everything. Like it really felt like they were trying to nail that, but so much else. Like whenever they say somebody's name, and you're like, who?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Well, it's just like allegiances and what they're doing with like there's so much to go into it. Like I think you could look at like almost every character. I do think you're probably right, Blood. I think Vega is maybe the best representation. But you could go into almost every character, and it's just like this is not how I remember this character at all. And it's definitely like a goofy, fun movie. And I agree that like there are things to appreciate if you go into it with the right mindset. But I thought, like, I was kind of bored watching it. Like, it wasn't as entertaining as I was hoping it was going to be. Because, like, I was really excited about this. But there's not even, like, that much good humor in the movie. The Zangief has a good line at the end where he goes, "Wait, you got paid?" And, like, that one I was like, okay, that was pretty funny. But there was so much that just, like, wasn't hitting with me, and I think it's because the plot is just so nonsensical and all over the place. Like there was a moment where I was like, wait, how did we get here? What's going on? And I rewound because I thought I missed something, but like I didn't. Like it just went into the next scene, and it just like doesn't strongly establish like motivations or relationships between characters very well. Like you just kind of have people talking, and then you like they focus on one character for like a second, and then they bounce all over the place. Like it is like a flaming train wreck, and some of it is hilarious, like Bison dollars.
Bison's like the best part, dude.
Yeah, Bison is the best
he's
part.
actually a true madman. The god is so pissed. It's like, dude, this isn't worth anything. What are you trying to give me?
Yeah, he's really funny, and like when he gets the like floating shoes, he's like, this is the same technology that powers the railways in Japan, and you're like, and he just starts electrocuting people like Darth Sidious, and you're like, this isn't psycho power. Like, this is not this character at all. Like,
Yeah.
he's more of a scheming madman than like a fighter.
It was. Man, like rewatching, I was like, man, Bison feels more like a Resident Evil villain. Like, it feels like
yes.
Bison's running like
Yeah.
Umbrella or something here, and they're like
Yeah.
going to stop him. But Raul Julia, like I have to say this, like Raul Julia's like delivery of the lines, like makes
Yes.
that Bison.
Oh, yeah,
work
he's
so
great.
well.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just so, yeah, as you said, it's so nonsensical and ridiculous, but like the lines are so memorable. Maybe it's because I've like reveled in like how much of the movie has become like a meme and how many memes it's produced over the
Oh
years.
yeah, the one-liners are just off the
Yeah,
charts.
like it's great, but like just when like Bison taunts Guile at the end, he goes, "You came here expecting to find a madman, and instead you found a god." And he's like,
he has the speech where he's like, I like followed Satan, and you're like, wait,
I beheld Satan
Oh,
as he
yeah.
fell from
Yeah.
heaven like lightning. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this is
pretty
amazing.
great. I feel like the ways that they try to justify the source material are sometimes just so bizarre. Like when Bison on his like thing, it's just an arcade stick, and it like
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense, and
like-
it's just
Yeah.
it's just an arcade stick with colored buttons, and you're like, okay.
Well, it's the isn't it like just the front panel of the arcade edition?
Yeah, it
of
was.
Street
Yeah, it
Fighter
totally is.
2?
The world on it, yeah.
It's got 2 players on it too. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's 2
what?
players.
Yeah, one of the early bits. He's like, I don't want to create the perfect genetic soldier for evil. I want to create it for good.
That or when like with Blanca.
And it was fucking Blanca.
Yeah, when he's, like,
And
looking at the
Blanca just
video.
ends up wearing this like this most standard clown wig at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
Blanca
wig is
looks
so bad.
so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he like Guile's about to shoot him too. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my god,
That's so dark.
yes.
Like, what's
Charlie.
going on here?
I,
It's like so out of character.
Ryu, I almost said it. They kept saying Ryu throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
But then Guile says
Right.
Ryu one time.
Does he? I didn't pick up on that. I just every time
Guile
they
got
said
it right.
Ryu, it like stood out to me because it's Ryu. But the way they portray Ryu and Ken as like these con men,
I was gonna say,
It's
what
like-
the hell?
insane. It's like, what
Yeah.
are you doing?
That's super out of place.
I think it was because like it's an ensemble cast. They have
Yeah.
too many characters, and they each have unique personalities. I mean, I think it's like okay in terms of the plot. It's like, oh, Warlord has hostages who's in a hidden location, so they concoct a scheme to, use Sagat, the drug runner, or sorry, the weapons runner for Bison, by getting those two, as you said, Ken and Ryu as like con artists, like, oh, let's slip them in as spies for us. But then like you also have like Chun-Li also trying to track him down. So you
Yeah.
got like there's just like too many layers, I think.
Yeah.
Like if it stayed simple like that, it might have worked. But then yeah, you got like Honda, you got Chun-Li and
Balrog.
thank you, Balrog. They're like working together, and then their whole thing like where they track them, and then they're like at the arms dealership, and they do like a circus performance. Like wait, how did
Yeah.
we? I was like, wait, what? Where did we? And how does no one
Yeah.
recognize them? They're like not even
And
in
then
good costumes.
When Chun-Li just disappears from the barrel somehow.
oh
when
yeah,
they
it's
cut
like
it,
movies. Like
yeah.
we don't need to explain the trick.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, Damiani, I think your read on it is completely accurate. Like, I think the plot would be fine, but they don't really unite the characters enough. It's like you have like all of these like little separate factions. Like you have Chun-Li and her friends, and then you've got Guile and the military, and then you've got Ryu and Ken, and then you've got Sagat and Vega, and like and then you've got Zangief and DJ who are just kind of there. And it's just like there's too many characters, and they kind of like separate them too much. Like I think the movie would be better if they found a way to like kind of rally them all together and be like, all right, like this is kind of like why we all collectively want to go against Bison. We're going to go in together. But it's like all of these little plots throughout it. Like there's too many layers. It's exactly what you said.
yeah.
Well, and Dawson is just there
Yeah,
to like
yes.
change the channels
Yes.
and look at screens.
And like that like pretty long scene where he's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to show him pictures of like Martin Luther King and like babies, and now he'll be good. and I can get away with this because the guy at the machine is looking at a porno magazine. Like, it's just it's just insane. Yeah.
Another thing that I just could not get over, like the second it popped up, was like they put when they're doing the assault and they put the boat into stealth mode. I'm like, how do you stealth a boat?
You see like the turn.
Yeah.
But he's just like staring at the screen, like, what is that? I'm like,
And it's
come
like
on,
2
guys.
seconds later, they blow up all the defenses, so they know something's up because the things just went down. So they just turn on the cameras and like, hey, look, there's a wake.
I think
Hey, it was worth it because we needed to get Guile's speech to the troops.
I think what makes it kind of a bummer, though, is like you talk about the boat going stealth. There's a lot of that. There's like explosions. There's like gunfights.
More gunfights than anything.
Yeah, and like characters just aren't doing their most iconic things. Like,
Yep.
they're just not. For the most part, they're just not doing things. There's not a single Hadoken thrown throughout the entire.
There is like a close one.
There is
it's
sort
a
of a
point blank
thing.
one,
Yeah.
and it like doesn't do
Yeah.
anything. He just does the hand thing on a guy.
Yeah, like the screen
It's like
flashes.
flash, right?
And that's like it. And then, oh
Yeah.
my god, Ken Shoryuken. It's like
Yeah.
the fake Shoryuken, like when you mess up the input and just like the low, like anti-air
it's
punch
real,
comes
like,
out.
It's super easy to miss Ben because they're terrible.
Okay,
like,
I must have
so
just
out
missed
of
it
it.
because I
It's
feel like I
like-
was like looking out for
It's like
this
that.
stuff.
It's super fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
He just spins so
Hey,
slow. It's
at
like,
least
Guile
Guile
gets a
did some
flash
flash
kick
kicks.
in there.
dude,
Yeah.
Van
Flash
Damme
kicks.
stuff. Yeah.
The
There was a line that Van Damme said, and I was like, I don't understand what you're saying, and I had to like go back and like turn on subtitles. And there's one point where Cammy is like, rough kick. She says
Yeah.
rough
She
kick.
says it point blank.
Yeah, and it's like, what do you mean rough kick?
Rough kick. I was like, okay, I think someone just forgot to cut the line there or something. It's like,
Oh man, and there's moments where you can tell they're like dubbing over their lines, and it's
Oh,
not
there's
matching
so much of that.
the lips.
oh yeah,
at all.
there's
It's
just like
absolutely
Mario.
Terrible.
We're playing on the Mario movie. I don't know what it is about these early '90s video game movies, but like a majority of the scenes had to be like 80 yard, pretty much.
Yeah.
It felt like, and
like it sort of
it's-
makes sense with like if they're in a fight scene, right? But a lot of these others is like, why are they just not mic'd correctly?
Yeah, there was like the scene, like there's you were talking about like the humor, Ben. Like some of it, like I felt some of it missed Marcus going along with the bad dubbing. I forget the actor. It was someone that Capcom demanded to be in the film. It was a Japanese actor who played
and that part is just so out of place.
the
when they're-
Godzilla joke.
Oh, the
part.
Godzilla joke is actually good. I like
yeah.
the Godzilla
That's
joke.
what it is.
Yes,
But
when
they like start dubbing them in Japanese at that part. So I'm like, oh, everyone else is speaking different languages at some parts in the film. At least in the subtitle version on Amazon, like the troops, because it's supposed to be the allied nations, the UN, if they had an army. And I'm like, well, just let them speak Japanese if they're going to speak Japanese the whole time. Like, why are you doing this bad ADR? And then like they finally use it for that scene for the joke because it's like, oh, it's gonna be more funny if they're like speaking in Japanese. But yeah, then seeing Honda and Zangief fight.
that soldier just feels like he comes out of nowhere though. Like there's so much about it that's abrupt, but I did love the Honda and Zangief fighting with the Godzilla roar. But yeah, we mentioned the ADR kind of being a mess, which it is. But man, some of the editing is a mess as well. Like there's a scene where like Ryu and Vega are fighting in a locker room, and Ryu is like his back is pressed against the lockers, and Vega is this way, and then Ryu does a kick, and it cuts to them being in completely opposite places, and Ryu kicking Vega into the lockers, and it's just like, this doesn't make any sense.
Well, and there's an incinerator in the locker room,
Right.
right next to a punching bag.
Well, yeah, I mean, they showed it earlier, at least, where when Zangief burned their clothes. So at least they did establish it was there, but it just why it's
just like, why?
It's just like evil henchmen stuff, like
Yeah,
evil
well,
headquarters.
I noticed too when they Chun-Li went to the morgue, right? And I don't know why Guile was just like laying in there forever anyways, but the morgue had like skeletons and like preserved body parts. Yeah. I'm like, this is a morgue. It's not a lab.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
I thought that was like Resident Evil.
Guile sits up and he has that like terrible like fake flesh that just looks so Oh, and in Blanca, when they're like putting like what looks like juice into Blanca, and they show those bags with the colored liquid, and this is like, you just put like food coloring in this. Like it just looks like you're dumping soda into him. It's terrible.
There was another, talking about like editing and stuff, there's a moment I wrote down where like somebody yelled, "You don't have a chance." Like after Chun-Li had already like jumped out the window. She was gone. They couldn't do anything to stop her.
She escaped,
She was like, "You don't have a chance." Like she did. She's gone. You missed it.
I did actually like the actor playing Chun-Li, Ming-Na Wen. I thought she did like a good job with what she had, and outside of Raul Julia as M. Bison. I thought that she did a good job. Although like her character was kind of wacky, I felt like she kind of like leaned into the scenes. It felt like her tone was kind of like consistent with M. Bison's tone in a way that worked, and I really liked the scene where her and M. Bison fight, and she rips off the thing, and it's the same scene where Raul Julia goes for me. It was Tuesday. The classic beam, but I thought that was one of the better scenes for sure.
Except the fact that like she just keeps talking and talking.
She does
about herself.
And Blood, I felt that throughout the whole movie, where like I felt like some scenes just like dragged, and they just talked so much and said so little. Yeah.
It is funny though, because that's another example of somehow like, despite the fact that none of these characters, other than Vega and Bison and Guile, I think those are the three that like feel like they're the characters when you see them. Everybody else is in some weird position, right? Like you've got DJ and Honda and Balrog all doing like TV tech work, and all of this, but they all somehow managed to get into costume by the final shot,
right? And DJ
and
has
Chun-Li is just like, that's how Bison wanted her to dress, so that. It's so weird.
And then DJ is like, I should have stayed at Microsoft. Just
what?
Yeah, he said something like that at the end.
No, he straight up name drops Microsoft.
Yeah.
At the end, when they like try to sort of cement this flirtatious relationship between Guile and Chun-Li, Guile says like, I'll do the interview, but only if you show up in that dress. And he just says it in like the slimiest way possible. Right. It's like super uncomfortable, and is not like it's sweet, they're in love sort of climax. He just comes across in the worst way.
Yeah, well, Jean-Van Claudette, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just him being Guile alone was hilarious to me.
Yes.
Yeah, that was that, and also like the Bison scene. Like, take her to like my personal chambers. I'll grant her a private interview. It's like typical like slime bag evil villain shit. But like when Van Damme does it at the end, it's like, because at first he like looks at Cammy when she's crying and like pulls up her chin, and I was like, wait, is he gonna kiss her when she's like upset? But then he's like, oh, he's just checking on her. He's like being a good like like super like he's the like leader and stuff. He's like, oh, just checking in on her. But then like that Chun-Li part, I was like, yeah, this is a 90s film. I mean, it happened a lot in the Mario film too. Like Bowser, some like creepy crap with Daisy as well. It's like, this is 90s. Like, the guy is gonna have to like make moves on the girl thing. Like, it would have been totally fine without that, because there's really no subtext there other than like Chun-Li kind of like cared about Guile as like an ally. Like when they thought he was dead, she was actually like really upset about it because she knew he was like a good
as
fighter.
Bison though.
Dude, Bison's line is great for that part. He's like TJ's like, congratulations, General. And he's like, on the contrary, I mourn. I was hoping to fight him on the battlefield in respectful 1-to-1 combat. He's like, then I would crush his spine. I was like, oh god, this guy is crazy, man.
Dude, that post-credit scene where it's like solar batteries recharging. And then, yeah, and then,
Why are they getting
yeah,
solar?
like I
It
guess
comes out of nowhere and like opens windows.
yeah, and it goes. The window that he opens is world domination replay. And he just clicks replay.
I think it's because, again, the 90s solar power probably sounded cool and futuristic. So like, yeah, let's make it sound like solar power because it's like a secret power that's going to survive.
Yeah,
and revive Bison.
The way that they frame it is like, oh, there's a hole blown in and like sunlight streaming through. Like, that's enough. The base is fine. Like,
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Right.
like big self-destruct sequence.
Yeah.
Apparently that scene wasn't in the theatrical cut. Because out of respect to Raul Julia, since it was his last role and he passed before it actually got screened in theaters, so it was added to the home release. So they were confident after the theatrical version to put in that scene, thinking there would be a sequel. I mean, the movie did well though. The thing is, the movie actually did well, and it's interesting because like the movie was almost the creative control in this film, unlike the Mario film. Capcom had creative control over this film. They mostly financed it, and they actually dictate. This might explain some things, Ben. They dictated a hard release by a date. They had a date for it. It had to come out by this date, no exceptions. And like in movies, that's like it can be difficult sometimes, just like in game releases. So I think they had a short production and shoot time, so maybe they had to cobble a lot of this together. Apparently, the script was written like overnight or something.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That makes a lot of sense.
Wow.
Damiani, now that you're saying that, I think it does partially explain why this movie is the way that it is. I also feel like at this point there was like a desire to like make games seem cooler and more Hollywood. But I think my biggest problem with the movie is like you think about Street Fighter, you boot up Street Fighter, like what's so exciting about it is you pick a character and it's like, look at all these crazy things you can do. Like you can teleport, Dhalsim, shoots out his arms, people are doing hurricane kicks in the air. It's like that's a core appeal of Street Fighter, and you watch this movie and it's like mostly things blowing up, people doing like basic punches and kicks. There's guns, and it just feels like it doesn't have, that
There's a
spark.
car bomb.
Yeah, exactly. And so it doesn't kind of like really carry the spirit of those characters in a believable way. But based on what you're saying, it sounds like they didn't really have maybe time to put some of that stuff in. Because boy, when they make Bison fly around, it's so funny. Like there's a scene where he's like going into
He
Guile.
has no speed.
Yeah, and he just like kind of clearly like doesn't make contact and just like curves above him.
Well, just even the like how we get to that moment, right? Because I remember, when they have round one or whatever you want to call it, like Guile just wipes the floor with him. Like there's pretty much no resistance, and then once the suit does its weirdo CPR thing,
Right.
he brings out the big guns.
Wait, how did that even work? Because he just like threw
don't
him on
know.
the console, and the console was like,
It, like,
ready
fused with him
to
or something.
give him CPR. Like that was part of his
His
plan all
suit
along.
apparently was in his jacket. The CPR was
Okay.
in his jacket.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting because we're doing this and watching this right before the Mortal Kombat movie comes out.
Oh, sure.
And it'll be really interesting comparing this 1994 movie and how it interpreted a fighting game versus, 2021.
Off what I've seen of Mortal Kombat, it already looks like the characters are doing way more things you'd expect them to do.
Right,
from
like
the
it
games.
already seems immediately more in line. Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. I imagine it'll be better. But even the OG one, which came out like a year after this film, like in
Right.
this vein of all these terrible
more in line with
there was
Mortal
like, it was
Kombat.
also like Double Dragon came out. Like I don't even remember that. I don't even remember how that one. I haven't seen that since a kid.
Yeah.
But Mortal Kombat coming out in '95 did it right as opposed to Street Fighter. It's like they got the characters to look pretty close, or at least realistic takes on them.
Yeah.
The plot was very just straightforward. Hey, there's a tournament. You all got to go. That's it. If you lose, Earth loses. And it felt like it was the video game, but also not too cheesy like these other films were trying to do. Like these weird, we can't make it look like the video game because it's too weird. People won't like it. And Mortal Kombat was like, maybe this Mortal Kombat lends itself better to like a live action adaptation, but it was just like light years better than this in terms of like a quality film.
No, Damiani, I'm really glad you brought up the 95 Mortal Kombat, because I feel like what that movie does successfully is it just captures the tone of Mortal Kombat, because like that's a movie I think that has way more fun with itself and like kind of identifies the spirit of Mortal Kombat a little bit more, and like it just seems like it has more fun with the fact that like you have all of this goofy stuff going on, and like you have Johnny Cage acting like Johnny Cage, right, in that movie, and here it's like Ryu is I don't know who this guy is. Like Ryu, this is not.
This ain't Ryu.
This isn't Ryu. Like this is nothing that I know, and I feel like you can apply that to so many of the characters where it just feels like unfamiliar. It's like
why is Honda
only.
Hawaiian? That's like the only reason I can think of is that the best person they could cast was Hawaiian. So like, well, let's just make Honda Hawaiian then. Right.
I did really like his line where he's like, because of sumo, I'm able to separate like mind and body. So that was nice.
Yeah, sure. I like E Honda and Balrog together. I like their chemistry.
Also, I never saw when or why Balrog suddenly got his boxing gloves.
I was just going to say that. It's like there's no reason for him to put on the boxing gloves.
Yeah. Also, I think there was a scene where the body enhancement DNA crap they use for Balrog falls on Dhalsim's arms.
Yes.
And I thought
that too.
I thought they were about, here we go. And like, it doesn't go to,
he don't stretch anything.
Might have been a cut scene because of budget reasons. Because, majority, a big chunk of that budget went to securing Van Damme for this film. That could also be another reason why it had
for sure
some issues. Yeah, because they went on the talent. But man, real quick, another thing this film does actually lack that kind of annoys me and bums me out is like the soundtrack. Like Mortal Kombat had this killer theme song. Yeah. Even the Mario Brothers had was Alan Silvestri doing like an amazing like Roger Rabbit style score that had like a unique personality to it.
Yeah.
This just had like, I don't know what the soundtrack was in this. I was like, wait, was there music in this?
Totally right.
Yeah, it was just like not there. And with Street Fighter's music, such a missed opportunity.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many different ways that they could incorporate it. Like, because you have all these iconic character themes, and, we said one of the problems is that, like, there are just too many layers and all these characters are separated, and, like, the characters don't feel like themselves. Like, you could have incorporated the character themes when they were on screen in a really cool way. Yeah. Man, there's that scene. It's really awkward, and you could tell, like, the script didn't know how to handle it because Dhalsim and Blanca are going to leave, and Dhalsim is like, I must repent for my sins, and Guile's like, wait, you said you didn't do anything, and then Dhalsim is like, good men doing nothing is evil enough, and then he just leaves.
Yeah, it's terrible. They didn't know how to wrap it up.
Yeah.
And, like, just Zangief, dude, like...
Zangief at the end, like,
we're the bad guys? Yes. And he's like, oh, okay.
And then he's just on the good guy's
side. Like, thumb sideways, Guile's just like...
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I've atoned for all my crimes.
Blood, you mentioned Vega and how you kind of felt like that was the closest you to the how you had that character in your mind. I actually feel like they do a pretty decent job with Zangief. Because, like, when I think of Zangief, I think of kind of that, like kind of enthusiastic, like, kind of dumb, but
pumped up dude.
Yeah. I think they did a good job with him, and I think Zangief makes sense as comic relief in the way that they used him. I actually wish there was more of him. because I
Right.
thought they
He
did.
didn't I didn't get to really see him fight or anything like that. I want to see him do some sick wrestling moves.
Well, it was just him and Honda pushing themselves around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
It feels
felt
like,
like
walls and
Honda
stuff.
gets most of the action though, like doing
I felt like they were
Honda-
just going like this to each other the whole time.
Yeah, it doesn't really do anything. And then another thing that was disappointing with like people's like how they were presented and like their fighting skills, like Sagat was a complete letdown.
Oh my god!
Like
Yes.
doesn't he, like in the fight scene, I was like just gets beat up pretty easily once it's 2v2 and doesn't really do any trademark stuff. And they were like, okay, we made him a like a crime king of Shadowloo, and that's it. He's just like a boss,
And he, like-
doesn't really fight.
He like doesn't take off his shirt to fight. He like takes it off because they're like wading through the water at the end.
Yeah, you see the scar.
You see the scar.
It's
Yeah.
like so meaningless at that point. It's like, okay, whatever.
I did think it was funny that him and DJ just got Bison Bucks. I did like that.
Yeah.
that was,
I saw it as soon as that chest came out. I'm like, oh, this is Bison
Yeah.
Bucks.
Bison Bucks,
It's
yeah.
100% gonna be Bison Bucks. Oh man. Oh, but remember like the suit from like the AN came like right when it was about to load out.
Oh,
And
yeah.
It was like you need to stand down. We're gonna just pay him off. I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah,
Why are
that
you gonna
was-
give him a bunch of money?
yeah.
$20 billion.
Kyle even said it's like this is the point why you don't pay terrorists because what's to stop Bison from taking more? It was basically so Guile could give the speech about we could all go home.
Right.
When he makes DJ check his bank account and on the screen it just says $0.
That makes
buzzer.
the error noise or the buzzer. And he said what he says, he goes, "Hell no, General." I was
Yes.
like, oh,
Yeah.
come
Hell
on.
no, General.
Yeah.
It's like,
I also
oh,
thought it was
man.
funny, like going back to the boats because, they go down and they have the whole stealth boat thing and the mine's blowing up and they get there and they're like going up on the base and then like, where the crap is everybody else? It's like 15 or 20 minutes later, the rest of the boats show up because they're all just like inflatable rafts.
Yep.
That's the forces. That's what they're sending in to deal with this guy.
And
Well-
the like hole that they have the hostages in, it doesn't even seem like, it seems like they could just like get out if they wanted to. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
seem that, I don't know.
Yeah, just like do the co-op video game thing. Just
Yeah,
for somebody
yeah.
else.
Yeah, I know the assault thing was due to limitations of where they filmed. They couldn't. They had to use boats because they're at the time was filming next to what was I think Burma or something, and there was like there was instability over there, so they didn't want to fly helicopters because they were worried they might be actually shot
Oh,
at or
sure.
something. So they had to stick to boats, which is like that wasn't the worst thing, but yeah, like you do think like with all this forces, it's like airplanes, airstrikes, like they're just sending one boat up the river. I don't care if it's a
Yeah.
stealth boat, even so you can make a stealth boat work where it, like hovers in the air or something, and it's like a stealth hovercraft. It's like this is just a dumb idea. What are you doing?
It was a movie, and I haven't seen the Super Mario Bros. Movie in a long time, and I know you just did that spoiler mode, Damiani, but this is a movie where, like, I feel like every couple of minutes I'd be like, this is wrong. Like, like basically some variation of that would pop in my head,
Yeah.
whether it was
We
like,
stopped the movie so many times. We just like hit that pause button and like what is we just looked
Yeah.
at each other like what just happened?
yeah,
Like my wife doesn't even have like any context for these characters, so I would have to be like, so this guy is supposed to be that, like pull up the sprite on my phone. Like this is who he's supposed to be.
I did think there was one, like, sort of cosmetic decision that they made where I was like, that was actually kind of clever. Where Honda, after his fight with Zangief, he has blood on his face, and it feels
Yeah.
like kind
His
of
paint.
reminiscent of his iconic paint. And I was like, oh, that was like kind of a smart way to do that. That feels like it makes sense in the context of what happened to these characters, rather than like Balrog just putting on his boxing gloves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Insane movie,
Yeah.
especially since Capcom was so involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they would have driven home the fact
yeah.
of these characters
Now I
being
wanna
like the characters?
I want to play the Street Fighter the movie, the game.
I know, dude.
It's probably better.
Yes.
I've never actually played that, despite
I don't
seeing
think
it so
I
many
have
times.
either, actually. Yeah.
I feel like I might have, but just for a little bit. I don't know where I would have played it though.
I always point to this movie as because people like to counter that what side of the fence you sit on with the Mario Brothers movie, where you actually think it's highly enjoyable because of how crazy they went with it, or you think it's a terrible movie. Nintendo didn't have any creative control in that film. It was actually their decision, but people always used to point to like, well, if only Nintendo had full creative control, it would have been better. You would just point to Street Fighter and say, well, Capcom had complete control over the Street Fighter film, and this is how it turned out. So just because a company has complete creative control over their product doesn't always necessarily mean it's going to end up turning out so well. So
Right.
yeah, I think these were good films to have to exist because I think they are the stepping stones towards potentially the better video game adaptations we may get or have possibly gotten, which I'm struggling. I mean, Mortal Kombat, definitely, they probably maybe saw some of that and like, okay, let's not go this way. Let's do it this way. And maybe, yeah, probably the new Mortal Kombat movie also saw it like that as well. Heck, I know they tried to make another Street Fighter movie that I don't think I ever watched it. The Legend of Chun-Li.
I haven't
not
watched
see
it
that.
either. Yeah.
Apparently it was like equally as bad.
That
but-
might be fun to do
Oh,
a
wow.
spoiler mode
Oh
on.
gosh.
Yeah.
Apparently it's just boring. It's not even like goofy
When did that
like
come
this.
out?
To 2000s?
Yeah,
like
it's-
late 2000s?
Yeah.
It was like
I
going
think
at game
it's like-
trailers.
I think it's like 2010s.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it either.
Oh man.
2009.
Okay.
Wow.
I feel like the poster for this movie tells you absolutely everything you need to know.
I guess, yeah, if you're disappointed with this because it's not too much like Street Fighter, there's always like the anime film.
The animated movie,
Which
yeah.
is like just as same. It's ridiculous, but like at least characters are in character doing the things you expect them to do from Street Fighter.
I definitely think this this is a really bad movie, but it's fun watching how much it gets wrong. Like I said, like it was kind of, you mentioned like pausing Bloodborne with your wife and just looking at each other. Like that's this movie. I honestly feel like that's how you sum up this movie. And so if you kind of go in with that mindset, I think it can be an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
like Street Fighter, I feel like it can be a much harder sell if you don't really know Street Fighter at all.
Yeah, I had that exact same thought, Brad. I was like, if you have like no interest in Street
Yeah.
Fighter at all, and you're just trying to watch this as like an action movie or, God forbid, a martial arts movie,
It doesn't do any of it.
yeah,
well.
I don't yeah,
Yeah, the only martial arts really like come at the very end.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. But I was thinking too, like it's just sort of like the attitude, right? Like I think there is still a sense that like they were making like a Nickelodeon kids movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it's like some of those like set dressings and things that don't make sense. It's just like we gotta make it look cool in this room.
It's funny,
I mean-
Blood.
Bison's base looked like Dr. Evil's base or something in an Austin Powers
Right.
movie.
It was like
So-
James Bond. It was like a
Yeah,
James
it's so
Bond.
dumb.
Yeah, like
There's,
what
like,
does he
guards.
need? Like it's got like a NASA control center in there for what?
World domination.
His minds, he uses his fight stick for. I don't know.
I mean, the world is gonna bow to him. Just like that's quick with that scene where he's talking to like the architect about the food court. It needs to be bigger. All the major franchises are gonna want
Yeah.
it. I was like, oh, Bison.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that building that just looks like his logo or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bisonopolis.
Bisonopolis. The Max Bisonica or whatever he says. It's like, oh my gosh.
But yeah, I think that's most of it to say about Street Fighter. It was fun getting to do this. It was fun getting to watch this movie. It was fun just sitting down and laughing with all of you guys. It seems like all of us, like, regardless of what we think of the movie, like, had a pretty good time watching it, which is fun. But yeah, thank you so much to Dana Bloodworth, Michael Damiani, Bradley Ellis, and thank you so much for watching.
Spoiler mode, Final warning, spoiler mode activated.